All right, I've kind of run into a little bit of a problem with the S5IIX. I like shooting video a certain way to get a certain look, but when I do, there's a major feature on the S5IIX that doesn't work as well. So do I sacrifice the way that I like to film to use this feature, or do I sacrifice the feature to get the look that I want when I film? And just to be clear, the problem is more of like a shooting style preference than it is actually something wrong with the S5IIX. So maybe you could help me by jumping into the comments, or maybe just tell me to get over it. If you're new to this channel, my name is Caleb and I have a ton of content about Lumix cameras like the S5IIX or the GH6 or the GH5. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I know. You are probably like, what are you even talking about? Just shoot the way you want to shoot and just be done with it. I totally understand, but I also have seen some of your comments in these videos and you are struggling with some of these very same things. So what do we do in this situation? Do we go for this certain type of look, or do we go for the features that this camera provides and are extraordinary features? So we're spoiled by these Lumix cameras, right? Especially the S5IIX. The image quality that you get with it is absolutely incredible. The bit rates are through the roof, etc., etc. By now we've all heard the amazing settings of the S5IIX. But with that, you also get a very, very sharp image, like a very digital looking sharp image. Even with the sharpness turned down on some of these different color profiles, it's still really sharp. And sometimes that has to do with the different types of lenses you're using as well. And this is all great, don't get me wrong. But even since the GH5, I've liked shooting with some type of mist filter just to take that digital edge off the image. And it's a little bit cheaper route to go than getting a bunch of manual cinema vintage style lenses. So what are diffusion filters or mist filters and what do they do? So at the beginning of this video, I put the Moment Cinebloom on this lens, and this is a very extreme example, but this is what a diffusion filter or a mist filter is gonna do. Now you have a few different types. Some of them are more of a glow like this. Then you have the Tiffin Black Pro Mist, and you have different strengths as well. This is the strongest Cinebloom at 20%, but some of those Tiffin Black Pro Mist filters come in at like an 1/8, which I love using for any type of interview. And then they come in at a 1/4, which is strong like this, but it's not gonna glow as much as the Cinebloom filter because the Black Pro Mist is gonna have some of those contrast features built into that filter. And I have a whole video dedicated to these diffusion filters, these mist filters, that I encourage you to go check out right here. So here's the problem I've been running into on the S5IIX is that I have loved using the autofocus. However, the autofocus, when I start using some of these mist filters, these diffusion filters, the autofocus doesn't work as well. Kind of just start struggling a little bit. Now, I've kind of been monitoring this shot, and this seems to be holding on pretty well. I feel like there might be a little pop in and pop out, but what I have noticed is when I use the autofocus on the S5IIX and on the S5II with a diffusion filter or a Black Pro Mist filter, the autofocus is just a little bit more jumpy than I would like for some of these types of shots. So for a lot of the content that I've been making for this channel, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've just taken the mist filter off because I love using the autofocus and I don't want to have to battle through some of that popping in and popping out of the focus. And for me, for this channel, that's really not a huge deal. But for client work, especially for interviews, I've really liked using that 1/8 Black Pro Mist filter by Tiffin. And the clients really like how they look in those interviews as well. A little bit softer skin, a little bit of a glow to the skin, and a little bit of a halation around some light sources. Now for that type of work, I don't necessarily need to use autofocus. I really like using autofocus on the S5II and S5IIX during those because you can just kind of leave it and let it go and it works fantastic. But I know that if I need a certain look for a certain project, that I definitely don't have to rely on that. So in some of those certain projects, I'll definitely go for the look that I need rather than the feature on the S5IIX. But for my personal content, I've really been liking the autofocus because I know it's gonna catch me, and really I think it just comes down to the style of content that you're making. If it's for clients, you don't want something popping in and out, so maybe you wanna rely on that autofocus, or go for the look that you're going and manual focus, that way you know it's gonna be in focus. Or if you're just doing some talking head stuff like this, like for this shot, I don't necessarily need this Cinebloom filter on here to blow out these lights and make everything kind of glowy. So this whole video is just kind of to generate a conversation. Let me know what you're doing if you're using the S5IIX or the S5 II, do you film with Black Pro Mist filters or Cinebloom filters? And if you do, what's your workflow in this situation? Now, if you're interested in how I set up my S5IIX for video, make sure you check out this video that's popping up on your screen right here. It goes through all my settings, and you can even set it up in under 5 minutes. And then there's some bonus settings there as well that will kind of help get you started, help get you rolling. And a lot of those things you're probably already doing, but there might be something in there that you might find helpful. So go check that video out, and until then, I'll see you in the next video.